So, y'all remember when I said I was doing weekly videos like 7 months ago, right? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Buddy was capping. Alright, so it's October, and y'all know what that means, right? It means we get the return of a lot of things, actually. We got the white girls getting back into drinking pumpkin spice coffee. We got leaves falling. The weather starts to get chilly. And of course, the most important thing that returns is October. National Yarn Day. Who the f— Also, we got the return of the one and only horror season. And of course, y'all know Content Zero had to come back just for that. Now, horror has to be one of the most controversial genres of all time. Some people think it's peak, and some people think it's hot garbage. But if there's one thing that all horror watchers can agree on, is that there's one group of people that almost always cooks when it comes to horror. The Japanese. That's not racist, right? Like, I ain't gonna catch you for that. Now, Japan almost always has the most unique and greatest ideas for horror. They have made some of the most iconic horror films and video games of all time. The Grudge, The Ring, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and many more franchises that y'all all know. So y'all know they can't cook. Sometimes. So y'all might be wondering, if they can't cook up all this horror media, why do you say stuff like almost and sometimes? That's because for all the horror media Japan cooks up, when it comes to horror anime, they ain't cooking anything. If you're a horror anime fan, then my guy, you are starving, and you haven't eaten a good meal in years. Matter of fact, the most popular recent horror anime we got was Chainsaw Man and The Promised Neverland Season 2. Those animes aren't even horror. When we do get horror, it's this.
母の誕生日が近いんで。よし、これ。
Look, anime studios, I know y'all struggling out here, and I know y'all need the bread, but can we stop getting these ecchi animes, bro? Now, we did get a horror anime from a legendary horror mangaka with the Junji Ito Manic anime, which got great review scores like a 6 out of 10, 6.6 out of 10, and a high score of a 73. Now, I know that anime reviews don't really matter, because we got people whose opinions should not matter out here giving good shows low scores, but reviews are the only form of verification and validation we have on how people feel about horror animes, so we gonna rock with them. Now, for me, when the ladies ain't calling my phone, you know, I have a little spare time to watch some horror animes. I spend a good amount of time watching strictly horror, and my average score is at 64%. 64%! That's in the bottom 3 lowest of all anime genres I watch. Below ecchi. Do you know how trash you gotta be to below ecchi? Matter of fact, this junk is barely ranked above hit. So since it's October and horror is back in the come up, it's the perfect opportunity for me to return expose to y'all why horror animes are so mid. But before we do that, I gotta show y'all this. Hold up. So y'all trying to tell me this goes slip backwards, do an umbrella in the air, then gets launched in the air forward and flips. Then y'all trying to tell me the umbrella hits the staircase at the right angle to open up and appeal her neck? What the fuck? Horror animes, the jump scares, the haunted schools, the monsters, y'all know what it is, and on the low key, y'all know it's mid. Now, I've got a lot of issues with horror animes. You might have a lot of issues with horror animes. But before we get into the bacon of these shows, because trust me, we will, we gotta figure out the biggest question in the room for horror animes. What is a horror anime? See, y'all might be thinking, I know what a horror anime is. It's stuff like Elfenlied or Another. And yes, y'all right. But I got a question for y'all. Is Chainsaw Man horror? Is Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, Sleeping Lane, The Promised Neverland? Because I'm tired of going on all these different sites and looking at the horror genre and seeing these different animes listed as horror and not horror. And I'm tired of looking at the best horror anime list and seeing Death Note ranked #1. So if we're going to discuss why horror animes are mid, then actually, we need to define it first. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'll never do that shit again. If we look at the definition of a horror film, we get things like the 5 elements of horror from Neil Chase, which are suspense, fear, violence, gore, and the supernatural. But if we want to understand horror animes, we need to go harder and deeper. pause into figuring out the specifics. So I found some common themes of horror, which are vulnerability, isolation, fear of the unknown, unexpected situations, psychological, ghosts, ghouls, mystery, monsters, vampires, werewolves, demons, devils, zombies, murderers, serial killers, spiritual forces, witchcraft, apocalypse, psychological fear, despair, gores, clowns. But a show having all these types of themes doesn't make it horror. For example, Attack on Titan is a psychological anime with monsters, gore, and mystery, and a lot of other horror tags. But for me, it's not a horror anime. So what makes a horror anime for me is an anime whose overall theme is focused around or has the fundamental elements of horror. So shows like Attack on Titan or Death Note are not making the team, they're cut. But shows like Serial Killer Lane are, because Lane's main plot is focused around psychological horror, and it has all the other 5 elements of horror from Nail Chase, and it has the themes. Now that we're done and we have a full understanding of what horror animes are, we can get into the baking of these mid shows, and we're gonna start with Another. Now, I know I said mid horror animes, but I actually think Another is one of their exceptions. But at the same time, it's not safe. So we're gonna get into the bacon. So if you don't know, Another is one of those cursed horror stories you heard of 1,000 times. Basically, the plot of Another revolves around Class 33. Because in 1972, Class 33 had a student that passed away. And being unable to cope with him dying, his friends put an extra desk in the classroom to remember him. And in the next year, in 1973, the students of the next year noticed there was an extra desk. So they just ignored it and went along with their business. But they messed up because they all started to get murked one by one. And to stop this from happening, you have to figure out which student from Class 33, 1972, reincarnated back into being a member of the class. Now that sounds like a good plot for a mystery horror anime, and it is. I actually was messing with Another for a while until one thing started to ruin it for me. These deaths are trash. Now I can't show these deaths on screen because it's a lot of gore and stuff, you know. YouTube gonna clap me and get me out of here. But if you know what Final Destination is, then just know, Another is Final Destination, the anime. Now, spoiler warning for Another's death scenes. If you want to see them for yourself, then go watch it and come back. A lot of these death scenes in this anime are crazy, like you saw in the beginning of the show with the umbrella. But we go from that, to elevators falling, to heart attacks, to you kids getting absolutely cooked by lightning for no reason. Like, what did Buddy do to deserve that death? But after finishing Another, one death scene stuck in my mind for all these years. And it's the death scene of this kid right here. Now, this guy technically dies by falling down the stairs and hitting his head, but it gets worse. So he gets to go on a school trip with his friends, and some goofy person in his class hits the ball into the sea. So he wants to be a good guy and goes and gets it. And to be honest, I don't even know why these kids were on a school trip in the first place. 3 of your classmates just got clapped, and your teacher clapped himself. So if you know 3 of your classmates just died and your teacher died as well, why would you go on the school trip and then why would you go in the ocean, my guy? Hold up, editing College Zero here. As I'm watching this clip back, right, I realized something. These 2 MCs are not that kid's friend, yo. They know damn well what's going on. Look at their faces, bro. They know what's about to happen if you still let them go in the water, bro. Oh, nah, bro. They know what's going on. Low key, this is their fault for letting the kid go in the water. They know all about the calamity that these still let him go in the water. Hell nah, bro. Nah, this is sick. This is disgusting, bro. They did him wrong. They did that guy wrong. But bro isn't too smart. So he goes in and tries to be the good guy. And of course, he gets cooked. But that even isn't the best part. Because the author hates this kid. So he decides out of nowhere, he's gonna make a boat spawn. And I think y'all know what happens next. This kid gets absolutely fruit ninja'd for no reason in front of all the hoes. I'm sorry, I cannot go out like that, bro. That's sick. I don't know what he did to the author, but I feel so bad for this kid. But the point I'm trying to make is, Another is doing too much with his deaths. In my opinion, that's bad story writing because it de-immersed me from the story. While watching Another, I was so invested in the characters, world-building, story, etc. that some of the creepy scenes, especially the ones with the dolls, actually scared me. But then out of nowhere, these goofy deaths happened and reminded me of what I was watching, and it took me out the story. And at that point, all the other good story points or creative moments that Another had did not hit as hard because I was de-immersed and it was ruined by these trash death scenes. Now, my message to the mangaka: having these death scenes like a heart attack or crashing a car is fine. But when you go into all these other crazy Final Destination stuff, it turns into dark comedy and it de-immerses me from the story. Immersion is a huge element in what makes a horror anime good or bad. If a horror anime can't make you immersed, then all the horror stuff is just gonna miss. An example outside of anime is a game like Five Nights at Freddy's. Nah, I know y'all all know Final Fantasy Freddy's. Y'all might hate it, but just bear with me. Yeah, there are jump scares and stuff, but the reason why the game became so popular was the theories and lore behind it that immersed the players into the game. And once you figure out the lore of Final Fantasy Freddy, the game becomes even scarier. Also, there were no things in the OG Final Fantasy Freddy's that de-immerse you from the story, which made games like Final Fantasy Freddy's a hit, while other games missed. And this is what almost cooked another into being mid. But luckily, Demonica crafted a good story that saved it. Now, immersion is what makes a lot of these horror animes mid. Because in other genres like comedy and action, you can have some of these throwaway edgy scenes or funny scenes that takes people out the story, and it's fine. But in horror, you cannot do that because it takes you out the story and de-immerses you from it. There are a countless amount of horror animes that I can name that suffer from immersion. If you cannot immerse your viewers into the story, then your horror anime is cooked. Because every single horror anime that I can name that doesn't have great immersion in the story are all mid. Speaking of stories, another thing that makes these horror animes mid are the stories themselves. Now, I could pick a lot of these different horror animes to choose from, but the biggest offender of this is Yamishibai. Now, if y'all wanted a rant or a cooking of a horror anime, this is it. Because Yamishibai is hot ass. This trash show came out like 10 years ago and it's gotten a season each year. The world just got hit with Yamishibai 11. There are great animes out there that struggle to get a season 2. And Yamishibai got 11 of this. Now let me explain my beef with Yamishibai. This show is an episodic anime, meaning each episode is different from one another and set their own little world. Now that's all in chill and cool until you realize all these stories are hot mid. Let me run you down one of the worst offenders. In season 1, episode 3 of Yamishibai, this kid and his family moves to a new village, and all the other adults tell his parents that in order to protect them from a ghost or a monster, they have to put on this mask and laugh at night. So they tell the kid to go to sleep and do not come out the room if he hears anything. So the kid goes to his room and sleeps. He wakes up and has to pee. So he goes to the bathroom, but he hears the parents laughing. So little brother decides to be nosy and walks up to the door. The parents open it with the mask on and he gets scared, knocking everything down, and a monster comes out and wrecks everybody. But the main beef I have with this show, and the reason why I'm so mad, is that every single episode is like this. Honestly, if I could describe it, it's like an AI generated TikTok horror shorts, but an anime version. And these jokes aren't even scary. I've seen SpongeBob episodes scarier than these. Now to wrap it back up, horror animes always have a mid story. Listen, I don't care how scary your horror anime is. I don't care if you got Junji Ito making the scariest faces and monsters of all time. If you got a garbage story, then your anime is going to be garbage. It is simple as that. Horror animes used to be peak. There was a time when horror animes would come out on the constant. It'd be heart-filled love letters to horror anime fans. Horror anime fans. Well, that's a good horror anime fans. Whoa, that's kind of peak. But check the backlog. There are tons and tons of great older horror animes. Perfect Blue, Elfen Light, When They Cry, Wicked City, and tons more. But new gen horror animes fell off because they're not getting made anymore. Because anime studios are chasing the bag. And y'all know what I mean by the bag. The Jujutsu Kaisen, the Chainsaw Man. Studios are not gonna waste their time making a horror anime when they could try to make the big next new thing in the anime market. And honestly, that's kind of sad. Because I actually do like horror animes. Even with all the cooking I did calling it mid, I still watch them. And the truth is, the days of strictly horror animes coming back are cooks. But actually, there is one hope. One anime can come in like Avatar Aang and save the horror genre from midness and dying. Uzumaki. Uzumaki, the legendary manga from the legendary mangaka Junji Ito. Even people who don't watch anime or read manga knows what Uzumaki is and knows about the great work he did. And luckily for us, Uzumaki is getting an anime adaptation that actually looks kind of fire. Like, I've never seen this art style be done this way, but if they can pull it off, then this show can single-handedly save the horror genre by bringing horror back and making these studios work on horror again. But until the Uzumaki anime comes out, we gotta wait. And hey, if you want to watch some horror animes, you're cooked. Because the only new horror anime we got is one from Netflix that doesn't even look remotely scary in a movie. So for now, until Uzumaki comes out, you're gonna have to watch these older animes. And maybe that's a W to you. Because I have heard a lot of people say old animes are better than new animes. But that's a topic for another day. So until next time, hopefully next week in not 7 months, Stop watching these mid-horror animes and go watch yourself some peak older animes and some peak horror mangas. And remember to become your cousin self. Peace.